Wes Streeting is no longer just the Labour politician with one of the hardest jobs in government. He is now one of the names being watched in the bigger question hanging over Labour's future. If Keir Starmer comes under a serious leadership challenge, Streeting is one of the people many MPs, journalists and party insiders will immediately look at. But that creates a problem, because the job that made him one of Labour's most visible figures is also the job that could damage him most. Streeting is the Health Secretary, responsible for the National Health Service at a time of waiting lists, staffing pressure, social care problems and public frustration. So the question is not just whether Wes Streeting wants to be Prime Minister one day, it is whether the NHS makes him look like Labour's next serious leader or exposes him before he gets the chance. This is Political Toons, and in the next few minutes we are breaking down who Wes Streeting is, why he has become one of Labour's most talked about cabinet ministers, and why the NHS could either make him a future Prime Minister or stop him before he gets there. Like the video, subscribe and let me know what you think below. Is Wes Streeting a future Prime Minister? Or is he standing too close to one of the hardest problems in British politics? And if anything important changes after this video is published, I will add updates or related news in the pinned comment. To understand why Streeting is being talked about now, you have to understand the political brand he has built. Streeting was born in Stepney, in East London, and brought up in a working-class family. He was raised by a young mother and has often spoken about the role public services played in his life. That matters because it gives him a story Labour politicians often want. He can talk about opportunity, education, poverty and the NHS, not just as policy areas, but as things linked to his own life. But Streeting is not usually presented as an outsider figure. After school in London, he studied history at Cambridge and became involved in student politics. In 2008, he became president of the National Union of Students. That role gave him early experience in media interviews, political factions, hostile rooms, and compromise. It also revealed the divide that has followed him ever since. Supporters saw someone serious, pragmatic, and confident. Critics saw someone too close to Labour's centre ground and too comfortable with professional politics. After student politics, Streeting worked in the voluntary sector and local government. He became a councillor in Redbridge and later deputy leader of the council. That stage was less dramatic, but it gave him experience with budgets, services and the everyday problems voters notice. In 2015, he entered Parliament as Labour MP for Ilford North, taking the seat from the Conservatives by just 589 votes. That narrow win still matters, because Streeting has never represented a completely safe seat. He represents the kind of marginal territory Labour needs to win and hold if it wants power. But he arrived in Westminster just as Labour entered one of the most bitter periods in its modern history. After the 2015 election defeat, Jeremy Corbyn became leader, and Streeting became one of the Labour MPs most willing to criticise him. To supporters, that showed courage. They believed Labour had moved too far away from the voters it needed to win back. To Corbyn supporters, it looked like Streeting was part of a Labour establishment that never accepted the direction chosen by party members. That period made him visible, but also divisive. He became known as a sharp communicator, but also as someone many on Labour's left would never fully trust. When Keir Starmer became Labour leader in 2020, Streeting's position changed. He was much more aligned with Starmer's project of making Labour look disciplined, moderate and ready for government. His rise was not only about loyalty, it was about usefulness. Streeting could go on television, defend Labour clearly and attack Conservative weaknesses without sounding hesitant. Then, in 2021, Streeting announced that he had been diagnosed with kidney cancer and stepped back from frontline politics during treatment. He later said he was cancer-free. That should be handled carefully. It was a serious personal moment, not a political device. But it did become part of his public story, especially because the brief that would soon define him was health. Later in 2021, Streeting became Shadow Health Secretary. This was the role that turned him from a rising Labour MP into a national figure. His message was simple and controversial. Labour had to defend the NHS, but also be honest about his problems. More money was needed, but money alone would not fix everything. Streeting talked about prevention, technology, care outside hospitals, reform, and using spare private sector capacity to bring down waiting lists while keeping treatment free at the point of use. Some people saw that as practical realism. Others heard a warning sign, and worried Labour was moving too close to private healthcare. After Labour won the 2024 general election, Streeting became Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. It was one of the biggest jobs in government, but also one of the most dangerous. Health is personal. Voters may ignore some departments for years. They do not ignore whether they can see a GP, get an operation, or find care for a relative. If the NHS improves, Streeting can say he helped deliver one of Labour's biggest promises. If it does not, his interviews and reform language will not protect him. And this is why the leadership question matters. Streeting has several things that count in a Labour contest. He is in Parliament. He is in the Cabinet. He runs a major department. He is a strong media performer. He is seen as ambitious. And unlike figures outside Westminster, he does not need to find a route back into the House of Commons before standing. But every strength comes with a risk. He is closely associated with Starmer's leadership. If Labour MPs turn on Starmer because they think the government has lost direction, Streeting would need to explain why he is not just continuity with sharper interviews. The NHS could also help him or hurt him. If performance improves, he can claim delivery. If it does not, opponents can argue that his promises ran into reality. Health can build a future leader, but it can also break one. Then there is his own seat. In 2024, Streeting held Ilford North by only 528 votes. That does not stop him being a leadership contender, but it matters. A future Prime Minister first has to remain an MP. If Streeting ever became Prime Minister, he would be the first openly gay UK Prime Minister. That would be historically significant, but it is not the whole story. His political importance is broader than that. He represents a form of modern Labour politics that is socially liberal, media-confident, reform-minded, and willing to argue with parts of its own side. That is why some people see him as a future leader. It is also why others strongly distrust him. So is Wes Streeting Labour's next Prime Minister in waiting? The honest answer is that he is one of the clearest people to watch, but his path is full of risk. His rise has been built on confidence, discipline, and the ability to make difficult arguments sound simple. Those qualities make him stand out. They also make him a target. He may become the Labour figure who proves that tough talk about NHS reform can turn into visible improvement. Or he may find that the health brief exposes the gap between political language and what patients actually experience. That is why Streeting is such an interesting figure right now. His biggest opportunity and his biggest danger may be the same thing. The NHS made him one of Labour's most prominent figures. The next Labour leadership battle may show whether that profile is enough. What do you think? Is Wes Streeting a future Prime Minister? Or has he taken on a job that could damage him before he gets the chance? Let me know below and check the pinned comment for any important updates.